remember this case, but in 2018, 2 black men were arrested in Philadelphia for sitting in a Starbucks.
I remember that.
You remember that? The manager said that they needed to purchase something, even though Starbucks promotes social hanging out, right? Hey, come here, study, come here, have business meetings, this, that, and other. You don't even have to really buy nothing. If you want to come here and hang out, use our free Wi-Fi, right? Mm-hmm. But then they arrested 2 African-American males because they said they was hanging out, right? So then you remember the company shut down all its locations for a day to conduct racial bias education. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Good. That same year, Nessa, a barista made fun of a man who had a stuttering disorder and wrote Sam, and I hate that I had to say it like that, but I had to say it to give, to make sure that you all get the gist of what I'm saying. He said that. I won't repeat it. I only said it one time because I wanted to tell you exactly how he did it. And he wrote that on his cup.
Wow.
He wrote SSSAM on his cup towards a man who had a stuttering disorder. During the book tour, former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz said that the manager in Philly, which we talked about, the one who called the police on the 2 black men, he said that she told him she probably wouldn't have called the police on them if they were white.
Wow.
She said because she felt threatened. So she probably wouldn't have called, right? Hold on, Nessa. It gets better. Let me take you back. In 1994, a former employee named Tracy Coleman won a racial discrimination lawsuit against Starbucks because the manager wanted to call her Toby. Toby comes from the movie Roots. You never seen the movie Roots?
No.
You gotta watch it. That's one I do. You gotta watch that before Black History Month and learn the Negro National Anthem. But former employee Tracy Coleman won a racial discrimination lawsuit against Starbucks because the manager wanted to call her Toby, who was a slave in the movie Roots. 2008, Victor Washington, an engineer now, used to work. He sued the company after the supervisor failed to address racial bullying at work. So when he worked there, they failed to address racist bullying at work, and they instead gave him more work. So they said, okay, so you want to talk about racial injustice? You want to talk about being bullied at work? We're going to give you more work. He won that lawsuit. 2009, an Ethiopian immigrant was fired in St. Paul, Minnesota after she refused to sign a paper saying she stole over $1,200. They put her in a room. They put her in a room for over an hour and 30 minutes to force her to try to sign this paper, and she wouldn't do it. They said she was stealing money. They said she stole over $1,200. She wouldn't do it. 2018, Brandon Ward was escorted out of a Starbucks in California after asking for the code to the restroom before he purchased anything, right? Nessa, did you hear about that case?
No.
So Brandon Ward, an African-American male, went to ask, he was going to the bathroom, and the white man was coming out of the bathroom, and he closed the door, and he's like, hey, what's the code? He's like, you got to go up there and you got to get the code from him. It's like, oh, okay. And so Brandon Ward went to stand in line. He asked him for the code, right? The white man was standing behind him. Mm-hmm. They told Brandon Ward, you can't get the code unless you purchase something. So the guy behind him said, well, I didn't purchase nothing, and y'all gave me the code. He said, I haven't even purchased anything yet, and y'all gave me the code. Why won't you give him the code? So then they escorted him out. So Nessa, I brought up all those things, right, to say that Starbucks, they keep getting it wrong. And I don't know why people don't understand that. I've been telling people about Starbucks. You know why? Because Starbucks seems like this friendly organization, and you just go to Seattle and you throw fish and you drink coffee and you drink tea and everything is fine and in harmony, and it's not. So all these cases that I just read to you, right? Mm-hmm. So you would think that after all of this since 1994 till now, Starbucks would have gotten it right. See, Starbucks only gets it right when it's popular or they get busted. That's it. If it's popular or they get busted. Because now, Nessa, they've come out and they've reminded employees that they can't wear anything that says Black Lives Matter to work. You can't put anything, no barista, nobody can put anything that says Black Lives Matter because they don't want to incite any type of reaction from their customers. We don't want to incite. They had to remind them, you can't do anything political, you can't do anything this social, blah, 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 right? But yet, Nessa, they allow them to wear anything that says that promotes Pride Month. Anything that promotes the LGBTQ community. Let me preface my statement by saying this. I do not have an issue with the LGBTQIA community, right? At all. I don't. What have I always said, Nessa? I just said this earlier. Love who you love, right?
Yeah.
When we were talking about the Loving versus Virginia Supreme Court case. Love who you love. That don't bother me none. I don't have an issue with it at all. But what I can't understand, Starbucks, is if you're saying that right now during this time of civil unrest and social injustice towards African Americans, if we're talking about racial discrimination that's going on and people are bringing more and more cases to the forefront, and you say, hey, you can't wear this because you may incite some type of reaction from our customers. But what about the Christians that you serve? Because there's a lot of Christians, Nessa, who don't believe in the LGBTQIA community who buy Starbucks coffee. There's a lot of old school people, not just old school black people, old school white people, just old school people in general who don't agree with the LGBTQIA community. So what do you think they're going to say when they walk in and they say, that rainbow means something, right? What that rainbow mean? Or why y'all passing out all these rainbow cups? Or why you people who work here got on things that say pride? So now as a barista, you got to explain that. And if I'm a person, I'm just using me as an example, like, because I'm standing right here. These are my views. I'm just saying. If I'm a person who don't agree with the LGBTQIA community, don't I have an issue now? The same way that if somebody walks in and sees Black Lives Matter or BLM, or there's on that cup it says BLM, the same people who say, well, all lives matter, right? Yeah. Not just Black lives. That's going to start a conversation. It's the exact same way. So Starbucks, if you want to get it right, just stay away from everything. Just stay away from everything. If you want to support the LGBTQIA community, then support it. Send the money. If you want to support Black Lives Matter, send the money there. Oh, side note, Nessa. Yes. I got to say this. So, Nessa,